morning. I'm bundled up like an Eskimo over here. Good morning, good morning. Alright, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Great knowledge on this morning today. Jesus is talking. He's walking and talking and teaching to the Lamaas, or this individual. His actual name was Lamaas, but as we know, he's been learning and studying the Vedas. He's been in close quarters with the Bramas. I wouldn't say learning about Hinduism, but we'll actually get to that. But he is also really being able to develop his truth and his thought if it was not developed already. But Jesus, again, as this young kid, is telling these truths and these thoughts and these explanations about these very broad topics that even to this day, you know, reading it is like, right? And it's not like it's new information, right? This is just information that is always known and always true. And perhaps people have thought of this before, and perhaps people have even spoke about it before. But it's because Jesus knows who he is, and he has such a clear understanding of who he is and what his mission is. This is why his words are still ringing in the ears of people today. So, but you tell me. He definitely uses some language in here that is just begging me to go ahead and stop and over-explain. But I'm going to go ahead and just read through it. The only thing that may be a little bit confusing is when Jesus uses the terms ought versus not, because we don't use these anymore. But if you could just sub-exchange, and I might even do the same, the word ought with like any or anything, and then not with nothing, it will help clarify the translation for us a little bit. But this is some knowledge, you guys. And yeah, not means nothingness, non-existence. Okay. And so I might even just read the line and then reread it, kind of replacing the words that we use today with it, just because it makes it a little bit less puzzling. But really, really amazing stuff, you guys. We're talking about the definitions of truth. We're talking also about the definitions of wisdom and understanding. And I swear I didn't know that this was coming, like the fact that we just read about the definitions of what is wisdom and what is understanding in Job, right? Job was explaining that God had evaluated, right? And what is that word? I'm missing the terminology, but Job has said that God had stated that wisdom is fear of the Lord and understanding is shunning evil. And we're also thinking back and remembering the state of mind that Job was in, but he wasn't wrong when he concluded those truths or those definitions. But of course, Jesus has his own definition of each of those things, and while it does agree with what Job was saying, they are much, much deeper. Okay. I'm excited to read this to you guys again. Jesus is a very young child. He's hanging out with these priests. I know today we look at that as like major red flag, and I'm not trying to ignore that fact, but just, you know, use this with a pure heart. Use this knowledge and really listen and understand what he's saying. So this is chapter 7, right? The friendship of Jesus and Lamaas, who is the individual. Jesus explains to the Lamaas the meaning of truth. Let's go ahead and begin here. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Among the priests of Jaguanath was one who loved the Jewish boy. Lamaas Bramas was the name by which the priest was known. One day, as Jesus and Lamaas walked alone in the plaza Jaguanath, Lamaas said, "My Jewish master, what is the truth?" And Jesus said, "Truth is the only thing that changes not." In this case, it is actually the word N-O-T, not N-A-U-G-H-T. Okay. Truth is the only thing that changes not. In all the world there are two things. The one is truth, the other is falsehood, and falsehood that which seems to be. Now the truth is aught, or everything, or anything, and has no cause, and yet it is the cause of everything. Falsehood is anything, and yet it is the manifest of right. Whatever has been made will be unmade. That which begins must end. All things that can be seen by human eyes are manifests of anything, are anything, and so they must pass away. The things we see are but reflexes just appearing, while the ethers vibrate so and so, and when conditions change, they disappear. The holy breath is truth, is that which was and is and evermore shall be. It cannot change or pass away. Lamaas said, "You answer well. Now, what is man?" And Jesus said, "Man is the truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Man is the breath made flesh, so truth and falsehood are conjoined in him, and then they thrive, and nothing goes down, and man as truth abides." Again, Lamaas asked, "What do you say of power?" Jesus said, "It is a manifest, is the result of force. It is but nothing, or it's hard. It is but not. It is an illusion, nothing more. Force changes not, but power changes as the ethers change. Force is the will of Allah and is omnipotent, and power is that will in manifest, directed by breath. There is a power in the winds, a power in the waves, a power in the lightning strike, a power in the human arm, a power in the eye. The ethers cause these powers to be, and thought of Elohim, of angel, man, or other thinking things directs force. When it has done the work, the power is no more." Then Lamaas asked, "Of understanding, what do you have to say?" And Jesus said, "It is the rock on which man builds himself. It is the gnosis of the anything and of the nothing, of falsehood and of truth. It is the knowledge of the lower self, the sensing of the powers of man himself." Again Lamaas asked, "Of wisdom, what have you to say?" And Jesus said, "It is the consciousness that man is everything, and that Allah and man are one. That nothing is nothing, that power is but an illusion, that heaven and earth and hell are not above, around, below, but in, which in the light of everything becomes nothing, and Allah is all." Lamaas asked, "Pray, what is faith?" And Jesus said, "Faith is the surety of the omnipotence of Allah and man, the certainty that man will reach deific life." Deific means godlike or deity-like, okay, or godlike, okay. And the certainty that man will reach deific life. Salvation is a ladder reaching from the heart of man to the heart of Allah. It has 3 steps. Belief is the first, and this is what man thinks, perhaps is truth. And faith is next. This is what man knows is truth. Fruition is the last, and this is man himself, the truth. Belief is lost in faith, and in fruition, faith is lost. And man is saved when he has reached deific life, when he and Allah are one. What a way to put it. This is again from the Holy Koran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali in the year 1926, ladies and gentlemen. So what wisdom? We did talk a little bit about potential, right? I said there is that potential to reach the God-like status, right? To be one with Allah is really the best way that we can put that. To be equal with Him. Okay, can you imagine? I know Islam preaches very heavily about Allah having no partners, and that still remains truth. But to reach this oneness with Him, that is the ultimate goal, and that is the deific life. Okay, it's for us all to be great deities, going from belief to faith to this fruition. Okay, to the actuality of it all. And that's why I said Jesus, really, His words just have been have had timeless and timeless effects within the world, because He knew this. Okay, He was already through belief. He started belief probably when He was like 2 or 3, and then He grew into faith. All right, even around 8 or 9. Right, I'm just guessing here. And then the fruitions already began at age 12 when He was preaching to the doctors of the law, okay, in the temple in Egypt. So, or I think that might have been in Jerusalem as they were back for a festival. Either way, you guys, He knew this. Jesus knew this, and this is why His words have been really frozen in time. These words have been frozen in time, and people are still excited about His words today because they have belief and they have faith, and they like to see the fruition of it all, okay, of Jesus becoming Lord, which He certainly is in His own right, all right? But we don't forget about who did Jesus talk about all the time. Is this Allah, somebody who was bigger than Him, but also in Him at the same time, if you could imagine. So it's a very, very awesome thing to hear. And we did touch on here the definitions of wisdom and the definitions of understanding, which go along with what Job was saying, but this is just really the full look at it all and full definition, I would say. But we definitely recognize Jesus's ways and His teaching and how He used to talk in this. We knew that He loved parables and things like that, but this is pretty dense in terms of it's not really very something you can picture, the words that He's saying. It's hard to picture. He's not giving you parables to help you understand. He's just saying this is what it is, and this is that kind of unabashed, unfilteredness that you get from a teenage boy, I would say. It's right here. So very, very interesting. I love this one, and I was very excited to read it just because of the congruencies that it had with what we were discussing in Job. And there was something else, I think it's coming up, we'll touch on it in a little bit. But with that, let's praise the Lord. Let's praise the God in us. Okay, let's praise and open up the gates of heaven that are not around or up or down, that are within us. And let's go ahead and praise like the angels would and read some psalms. So I appreciate you guys. I'm going to jump back here in just 2 minutes. All right, bye-bye.